It's very nice to be here. मुझे बहुत खुशी है आप लोगों से बात करने का मौका मिला. And I hope you will enjoy our conversation.
Rightly put it.
Margie, Margie, Margie,
Oh,
little Margie,
is that
little
your
baby Margie.
little...
No running, no running,
What's
baby,
his name,
no
ma'am?
running. Why are you running? Lights. She doesn't like the light. अरे पेट्स तो आई हैव नॉट लिव्ड विदाउट पेट्स ऑल माय लाइफ. दुनिया भर के जानवर मैंने पाले हैं. अगर मैं लिस्ट बनाऊंगी तो आई थिंक मेरा पेपर ही खत्म हो जाएगा. एक्सेप्ट फॉर स्नेक्स. आई डू नॉट लाइक स्नेक्स. बस. और सब जानवर किसी से मैं डरती नहीं और किसी से मुझे नफरत नहीं है. आई लव देम ऑल एंड दे लव मी. I never have a problem with any animal. कितना भी भयानक क्यों ना हो. No, I think they know who cares.
Yes.
That who's not going to hurt them. That is the crux of the whole thing. They can sense love. If love is there, they are safe. Anybody is safe if there is love. कुछ पन्ने तो नहीं, पन्ने तो बहुत ढेर भर हैं, मगर उन सब पन्नों को पढ़ा नहीं जा सकता. और उनमें से चुन चुन कर कौन सी स्टेजेस इंटरेस्टिंग रही हैं जो मेरे लिए इंटरेस्टेड होंगी वो शायद जो व्यूअर्स हैं उनके लिए ना हो, और जो व्यूअर्स के लिए इंटरेस्टिंग है वो शायद मेरे लिए ना हो. क्योंकि कई दफ़ा मेरे लिए कहा जाता था कि मैं फिल्म इंडस्ट्री में आती हूँ और जाती हूँ जब मन होता है, ऐसा नहीं चलता. मैंने कहा वो तो चलना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि जब मेरा मन होगा काम करने का तो मैं करूँगी, जब नहीं होगा तो नहीं करूँगी, क्योंकि मुझे प्रायोरिटीज़ कहीं और हैं. When my children were small, I knew they needed me more than the film industry. They could do without me, but my little kids couldn't. So I have made a choice, often, very often, at the cost of making people annoyed with me, that I'm not working. But that's life. The first Khan Award we won for the Indian film industry. but मुझे अजीब लगता है देखकर कि इस वक्त जब वो सेलिब्रेट कर रहे थे 100 years of cinema, there was no mention of Neecha Nagar at the Cannes festival. I was a bit surprised, which is, I think, quite rare. It should have been mentioned, it should have been highlighted, because that was the first film that won the award for Cannes and for our country. और उसको थोड़ा तो हाईलाइट करना चाहिए था. मगर then I said, well, this is the industry. This is not going to happen. But I didn't make a noise about it or anything. मगर अच्छा लगा कि at least हमारी फिल्म ने एक मार्क तो लिया. And my first film, I should have been very proud, but I don't think I even realized that it was such a big landmark. My very first film has been noticed at the Cannes Festival. So, but you know, बचपना था एकदम. कॉलेज में पढ़ती थी, बस फिल्म में काम किया, ख़त्म हुआ काम और सीधी भाग के वापस आ गई लाहौर. मैं कॉलेज में पढ़ती थी वहाँ तब. So I just finished my BA and that was it. And I forgot all about having become an artist in the films. It was very, very, unusual. But I took it in my stride कि ठीक है, जैसे मैं और स्टेज के ऊपर करती रहती हूँ, रेडियो पे करती रहती हूँ, और घर में प्लेस करते रहते हैं हम, रेसिटेशंस होती रहती हैं. So this is like one of those things. Didn't realize it was a stepping stone to a career that's going to, I think, cover 70 years. A long time. Magar, that's how it started. I think the impact that my father was such a forward looking person, his personality was so oriented to never deny a child an experiment, the will to experience and to research and to look forward. He did research himself. He's a world figure and he did immense work, and he instilled that into our life. He told us, don't ever retreat, you want to experiment, do it. As long as you're not doing something wrong. But go ahead. We were never denied anything that we wish to experiment with. That was the norm. हमने सब कुछ किया बचपन में मैंने देखती हूँ जब क्या कुछ मैंने नहीं किया मैंने स्टेज के ऊपर काम किया मैंने डांसिंग सीखा मैंने swimming सीखा riding सीखा I used to walk on stilts and we did all kinds of things whatever you name it we've experimented but as long as we didn't do anything wrong it didn't put people into trouble so we were really allowed to be progressive and open-minded experience the world check out what you really want because that's what he did. He did all his research in Tibet where there was no path, there was no food, there was no housing, there were no rooms to live in. He did all his research in Tibet, the peaks of Tibet. और मुझे लोग कहा करते थे, he knows Tibet like the back of his hand. He knows that terrain so well. That's where he did his research. और मुझे इतनी खुशी हुई मुझे इन्होंने बुलाया चंडीगढ़ अभी पूरी यूनिवर्सिटी का पूरा एक विंग जो है they wanted to name it after my father. It's an honor. I was the youngest and I'm the only one around. All the others are gone. That I am here to be blessed with the honor of inaugurating a place that my father revered, that the work he'd done, cherished the work that he'd done so many years of his life he spent. And he'd gone to Cambridge to study, can you imagine, in those days. Somebody noticed the spark in him, how brilliant he was. They organized that he must go and study. And this time when I went to London, I said, I've got to find out which college he went to. And I discovered he was in which college, where he studied, what he did, and his name is still there. Big name, honor, something, the beginning of the century. Yeah, as long as he said you're not doing something wrong, try it out. Why not? You want to do something? Do it. He's right there with you to help you. Experiment, discover, find, search the world, look for it. And I think if everybody did that, how much knowledge there would be around instead of only going by the rote of the letter, just following what everybody else is doing. As long as you're not doing something wrong. That was his motive. And we all cherished what he taught us. This is Chandigarh University. And this time they were celebrating the 150 years of the college that he was associated with, the government college, Lahore. I come from Lahore. They rang me up how many times, please come, we want to honor your father. Please come for the inauguration. We are celebrating 150 years of this college. But unfortunately, I was not too well and I had to forgo. But I sent them a very lovely clip that was put together by my son. He's very good at video. So he put together a beautiful whole announcement, and his participation and the work, the research work that he had done, the liverworts that he discovered, which was the 6 species of plants which have been discovered in this world, and he discovered them. They knew only of 5 species, his was the 6th, and that's the liverworts. It's a different style of plants that he discovered. So it was, presented rather interestingly, and I was very proud of him. And I thanked him from the bottom of my heart for having done it for his grandfather. And Filmfare was conceived and discussed in this very room where I'm sitting now with Mr. J.C. Jain. He wanted to start this magazine and we had a very interesting and very open, fair, probe into what all it could contain. How would it look? What would you want? He was a good friend, a very good friend. And he did want my input as a person from the film industry and what I thought about it. I thought it was a great idea. Didn't realize that I could be a part of it, and I could win one of those lovely figurines. It was really quite it's a very fulfilling feeling that, you could contribute some ideas on what it should stand for, how it should be conceived. When I entered the film industry, I had hardly seen about 5 or 6 Hindi films. I used to watch Shirley Temple and I used to emulate her. I thought she was great. I loved her. So I told my brother one day, I said, listen, I want you to get me that book on Shirley Temple, in which she's making mud pies. So he looked at me and very straight and very direct. He says, if you like her so much, learn to work like her. Why do you want her making mud pies in front of you? What's the point? That was like, that's what used to sell. So I said, yeah, I thought about it. I said, that's a good idea. If I really like her so much and I like the way she works, I should be able to do it. And sure enough, my brother made a tiny film. It was called The Tragedy, but it was the most hilarious tragedy. It was supposed to be a spoof on how we behaved at home and what happened to us. He used to handle the camera work, movie camera work, when they went on treks with my father. And my elder brother used to do the stills. Both the boys were involved. And they sort of knew how to handle it all. And I remember at that time my brother used to treat the film in the solution by hand. And we stood there with stopwatches outside the room to count how long he's been at it. And we'd yell when its time was over. And he would stop and do it. There was no lab. And I think those films are still in the archives of the government college. The research that he did and all the plants that he discovered, all the work that he put in is there recorded on film. But that is what he said. He says, well, why don't you? And I must have been about, I think, 7, 8 years old then, maybe 9, not more than that, very young. So he made a film and it was called The Tragedy, but it was the most hilarious tragedy you could ever think of. Because at the end of the film, me and my compatriot, my partner, were both locked inside the rabbit hutch. It was a big kind of a room we had got for our rabbits. We had a horde of rabbits. As I told you, we were never stopped from experimenting or keeping pets or, going for jaunts or doing riding. As long as we didn't do wrong things, there was no taboo. No. You want to do it? Try it. It's good. And that's my background from where I came. But they did, when Chetan came to ask me to work in his film, I did say no. He says, why? Why the hell are you saying no? I said, because it's not nice to work in films. Huh? He said, who said that? It is not nice to work in films? I said, well, that's what they say. He said, that's very funny. I'm making the film and I want you to work in it. Why can't you work in it? I was a little kid. I was just in college, very young. So he went to my brother, because by then we'd lost our dad. We lost our dad when he was very young. I was hardly about 7 years old. So he told me, he says, I'm going to speak to your brother. I said, go, speak to him. So he went and talked to him. He said, why don't you let her work in my film? And we were all newcomers in that film. There was not a single professional as such. They may be from radio, they may be from writing, literature and things like that. But they were not professional actors. And I used to do a lot of stage work for my college and otherwise also. We had a gorgeous open-air theatre on top of a hill. And we used to put up plays there. Gorgeous. It was this like a star attraction for the city. There's a play coming up on the open air theatre stage. Come, let's go. It was a huge amphitheatre and with a regular natural stage on top of a hill. And that's with the amphitheatre. And that's where I performed all the time, every now and then. So my brother asked me, he says, well, if Chetan is asking you to work, he was his friend. He said, why can't you work? I said, you mean you don't mind my working in films? He said, Where are you coming from? What's wrong with working in a film? Go ahead if you want to. I said, I don't mind. It's okay. I'll do it. And I did. I just went, did the job, came running back, and back to my college. So that was my first experience of rubbing shoulders with the film industry. I'd hardly seen about 5 Hindi films, I think, when I started. No more than 5 or 6, maybe. And that's it. Actually, none of them really came up. Mohan Sehgal was my brother. He's the person you will know. He played my brother's role. Then Rafiq Anwar, he played the lead. And Uma Anand, she was another lady from our college. She was a little senior to me. I think 2 years, 3 years senior. She was Chetan's wife. She was there. So they were all mostly intellectuals or writers, people who had written plays for the stage and the radio. These were the people who were involved in it. And the person I ran into who became a very important person in my life is Vishwamit Adil. He was there. He wrote the dialogues and everything in that. And would you believe it? I never ran into him for about 30 years working in the film industry. Then suddenly I said, I want to find him. I just want to locate him. And I did. Then I called him and we worked together beautifully. Then one day he did ask me, देखो इतने साल के बाद तुमको मेरी याद कहाँ से आ गई? कहा आपकी याद इसलिए आई because you left a very deep impression in my heart for your sense of humor. And I'm making these children's programs, and you have such a delightful sense of humor. And a kids program without sense of humor is not going to work for me. It has to have sentiment and humor, and you're going to do it. He said, sure, it'll be great. And we did some really good work, even if I'm saying it. I really consider that as some of the good work that I've done is my work for kids. It was very spontaneous, it was very genuine, it was very heartfelt, and it was very honest. And kids are great performers. उनमें ये दिखावा नहीं होता. अगर करना है कुछ तो कर देते हैं. उनमें एक reality आ जाती है. And Adil was my real pal. Vishwamitra Adil. I will never forget him for the contribution he made. क्योंकि मुझे याद है मैं छोटी सी थी, से 10-11 साल की होंगी, मैंने अपना पहला पपेट थिएटर बनाया था. अपने आप पपेट्स बनाई, अपने आप थिएटर तैयार किया, उसकी स्क्रीनिंग बनाई, उसका बॉक्स तैयार किया, अंदर का लाइटिंग करवाई, उसकी सारा मैंने अपने आप किया था. एंड आई मेड द पपेट्स माई सेल्फ. And I must have been 10 years old or 11 or something. And I put up a show. So it must have been in the back of my mind that these creatures are really real. You can make them real. You can instill life into them. And it'll happen. And it did. But it stayed in my mind, and even after doing so many Hindi films and drama-bazi and romance and running around and jumping here and there, the fact that I wanted to make kiddie programs was there at the back of my head. And then one day I decided, enough is enough, कुछ भी हो जाए, मुझे ये programs बनाने हैं. और मैं ऐसी चैनल को दूंगी जो दिखाएगी पूरे हिंदुस्तान में. ये नहीं कि I'm giving it to on this, say, Star Plus or something or whoever. I will give it to Doordarshan. They had the maximum reach. I said, I want these kids to see them. They are good programs. They say something worthwhile. There is something from the point of view of a child. कैसे वो सोचता है, कैसे वो behave करता है, कैसे उसकी problems क्या हैं, how does he handle them? And I sat down and I wrote the stories and I worked at it and I slogged at it and I made the puppets and I drew them and I dressed them up and I knew exactly what they wanted and I spoke for them all their dialogues. In each puppet I had a different voice. And then I put up these shows. And I gave them to Doordarshan. I think they were well liked. Some were made in live action, some were done in puppetry. So it was like very fulfilling, and they were all made here in this room. in this room, and people thought I had gone off work. I was not available. Manika, I've never been busier in my life as when I made my puppet shows. And I always find that the most fulfilling and satisfying part of my life. I felt, they were speaking on my behalf. They spoke my language. They spoke what I wanted to tell my children, to encourage them to find out what real life is all about, what is good and what is bad, what is naughty and what is not acceptable, and what is really a challenge. How can you do it? If you really believe in it, you can do it. You can do it. And I was very happy to have the, you know, constant reinforcement from my family, my children. They all helped out. The whole family came together when I needed anything. Nobody ever let me down. My sons, my girls, they're just part of it. That is like so fulfilling and so gratifying.